Hello and very warm welcome at Amish Cycle 5858. I am Amish Cycle. Foreign news have been reported by American, European, Asian, African, Australian news channels and the news agencies. So please, let's go to the headlines.
Tonight, breaking news just in. President Trump commutes George Santos' sentence. We learned just moments ago, President Trump now commuting the sentence of former Congressman George Santos, who authorities said lied about his personal life, his professional life, and got elected to Congress. He was convicted of wire fraud and identity theft. Now he'll go free. We'll go live to Mary Bruce. President Trump and President Zelensky at the White House. Zelensky asking the U.S. Tomahawk missiles that could strike deep inside Russia. The president now hesitating after talking with him. And the president was asked today, does he think Vladimir Putin is playing him? How he responds. Tonight, the U.S. military drone strike off Venezuela, and tonight, 2 people on that boat surviving this, picked up by the U.S. Navy. What we now know about the boat they were on, and the new images tonight of B-52 bombers flying to the coast of Venezuela, F-35 fighter jets seen in formation. What's behind the buildup? Arthur Raddatz and what she's learned tonight. The Jeffrey Epstein case and now the stunning decision by Prince Andrew, giving up all of his royal titles, he says, after talking with King Charles. What's behind the timing of this? Tonight, President Trump's former National Security Advisor John Bolton pleading not guilty to charges of mishandling classified documents. Tensions rising in the Chicago area tonight. Police and riot gear clashing with protesters outside an ICE facility. More than a dozen people detained. Tonight, a race against time. Urgent evacuation still underway after entire towns were washed away in Alaska. Tonight, 2 years after we first met them, the parents of slain hostage Hersh Goldberg Poland, and the interview. In the end, Hersh was the only American hostage who was taken alive and then murdered in captivity. Tonight, their remarkable message right here and what they've now shared with me. The harrowing images showing a plane falling from the sky, 3 people on board killed, the plane plunging 12,000 feet in just 1 minute. In New York City tonight, trouble on the East River involving a sightseeing ferry. Tonight, we're also tracking severe storms hitting this weekend. Possible tornadoes, heavy rain, damaging winds. Texas to Ohio, then sweeping into the Northeast. From ABC News World Headquarters in New York.
Senior White House correspondent Peter Ducey reporting live from the White House. Peter, very interesting precursor to the big meeting. It went on quite a long time, and a lot was aired out before they went behind closed doors.
Yes, very interesting. They are still behind closed doors in the cabinet room, having lunch at the long table that is in there. The U.S. delegation is on one side, the Ukraine delegation is on the other. And when we were in there, President Trump referred to himself. He gave himself a new title, the mediator president. And right there on live TV, we learned that President Zelensky isn't just here right now asking for Tomahawk missiles to strike deep inside Russia. He is offering a trade, basically. Tomahawk missiles for Ukrainian drones.
The United States has Tomahawks and other missiles, very strong missiles, but they can have our thousands of drones.
President Trump, I don't mean to be brokering an arms deal here, but is that something that you would be interested in, Ukrainian drones?
We are, yeah, or we would.
Some new info about the upcoming meeting with President Trump and President Putin. For the time being, it doesn't sound like Zelensky is going to be directly involved. Too much bad blood, according to President Trump. But despite that, he thinks this war may be nearing a beginning of the end, to the point that maybe the talk about new missiles to the battlefield can end here.
It's not easy for us to give. You're talking about massive numbers of very powerful weapons. So that's one of the things we'll be talking about. Hopefully they won't need it. Hopefully we'll be able to get the war over with without thinking about tomahawks. I think we're fairly close to that.
And we can guess, that's all we can do about whether or not a relatively short meeting as far as these things go is a good sign for Tomahawks to Ukraine or a bad sign, but you can see down at the end of this driveway, President Zelensky's armored SUV has pulled up to the West Wing lobby, waiting to take him off to his next stop, that press conference. Martha?
Yeah, we'll see if this was a relatively brief lunch after a relatively lengthy open news conference in that cabinet room. Peter, thank you very much. We'll bring in retired four-star General Jack Keane, Fox News senior strategic analyst and former Vice Chief of Staff of the Army and Chairman of the Institute for the Study of War. General, always great to have you with us. Obviously, this is a big moment for President Zelensky. He has been pressing for tomahawks. It sounds like that is not going to happen until after something further is ironed out with President Putin. What's your take so far, General?
Yeah, well, I think something must have happened in that 2.5 hour conversation that President Trump had with
Breaking news tonight, President Trump just announced he's commuting the sentence of George Santos, the imprisoned former congressman, now walking free. The disgraced former member of the U.S. House was serving more than 7 years, convicted of wire fraud and ID theft. How the president justified his new decision. Plus, face-to-face, President Trump and Zelensky at the White House, the key request from the Ukrainians to help them win the war, those Tomahawk missiles, the president's response tonight, plus the new details on that Trump-Putin summit in Alaska. What Putin did to cause President Trump to want to walk out of the talks. The newest strike in the Caribbean with a shocking twist. 2 people on board surviving. Where they are now and what we just learned about the underwater vessel they were traveling in. Royal no more. Prince Andrew giving up his royal titles as he faces fresh questions about his connection to Jeffrey Epstein. How the king is responding tonight. The urgent search for a missing woman and the chilling new video authorities say shows the suspect trying to get into another victim's home. The stunning home robbery caught on camera. The sophisticated surveillance thieves are using to strike while you're away. An officer running to a burning car with only seconds to save the woman trapped inside. Scary moment, students tumbling as bleachers collapse at a high school soccer game. Can you use ChatGPT to win the lottery? How AI may have helped one woman win $100,000. And the life-changing surprise, the high school team giving back to a man who has always cheered them on. Nightly News starts right now.
ऐसा पहले पाओ फिर खेलो, पहले अकाउंट में पाओ फिर खेलो, ये हमारा वादा है सबके बस से। अभी मुझे पता चला है कि मार्केट में
Hello, a very good morning. It's 6 o'clock. Coming up on the show today, we're talking about Prince Andrew giving up his royal titles after years of scandals.
And the Premier League is back. Could Arsenal extend their lead at the top of the table when they take on Fulham this evening?
It's Saturday, the 18th of October. As Prince Andrew gives up his titles and honours and is effectively banished from royal life, the King says he's glad. The family of the sex trafficking victim Virginia Giuffre says it's a vindication for her and for survivors everywhere. Also this morning, President Zelensky appears to have left his White House meeting empty-handed over Trump's fears a deal on long-range missiles would escalate the war with Russia. The government says it's working with police to provide extra resources so Israeli fans can attend their team's match at Villa Park.
And in Formula One, Max Verstappen is on pole for this evening's sprint race at the United States Grand Prix in Texas.
Senate.
And I'm Amna Nabaz. On the NewsHour tonight, Ukraine's president visits the White House amid tensions over long-range missiles and discussions with Vladimir Putin.
The disfigured, injured, and deeply traumatized children and parents of Gaza are beginning a long road to recovery as the fragile ceasefire holds.
I saw many horrific scenes that broke my heart when I entered the hospital. Children with limbs amputated. What did those children do?
Despite major cuts to critical government agencies, the Trump administration provides a $20 billion lifeline to Argentina's flailing economy. On this Friday night, beefing up Canada's border security. The ambitious plan to crack down on border crimes with hundreds of new officers.
This really is about ensuring Canada's safety and security and our sovereignty.
But just how feasible is it? Ukraine's president back in Washington, his talks with Donald Trump as the U.S. president seeks another diplomatic win in another war. Plus, a duke no more. Prince Andrew gives up his royal titles as he remains plagued by scandals linked to Jeffrey Epstein. And breaking the cycle.
I see myself. I'm along these guys.
The new initiative helping nonviolent Indigenous offenders with the power of ceremony over prison.
Global National, reporting tonight, and Gaviola.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. The federal government unveiled a new blueprint to strengthen border security today. Prime Minister Mark Carney outlined the plan from a crossing in Ontario's Niagara region. The federal budget, which will be tabled next month, will allocate funding to hire an additional 1,000 border services officers to crack down on the illegal trade of stolen goods, guns, and drugs, and to enforce strict import measures and investigate unfair trade practices. The new measures also include a boost in benefits to aid recruitment. Mackenzie Gray looks at the Liberals' plan and the motivation behind it.
Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Nermeen Sheikh. Palestinians in Gaza are trying to identify the bodies of their relatives who were released by Israel. Many of the bodies showed signs of torture and summary execution, with gunshots to the head and marks from blindfolds and handcuffs. Here's Ghada Musbeh, whose husband is still missing.
The Red Cross has brought bodies, 90 bodies, and we have come to see if my husband is with them or not. The appearance of the martyrs, we do not know who they are because they are disfigured and the Israelis have tortured them. We don't know anything about them. Their appearance, we don't know where my husband is. It is not known.
Israeli officials say they're extending the detention of Dr. Hussam Abu Safia by 6 months. The pediatrician was kidnapped during a raid on Kamal Adwan Hospital last December. Meanwhile, Hamas returned the remains of 2 more dead Israeli hostages, but reiterated that it will need specialized equipment to locate bodies still buried beneath the rubble. The UN estimates that 55 million tons of debris must be cleared before Gaza reconstruction efforts can begin. This week, Israel's Defense Minister, Israel Katz, called on the military to prepare a comprehensive plan to defeat Hamas should the Gaza ceasefire collapse. In Washington, President Trump repeated his threats against Hamas.
They brought back bodies today, as you probably know. But they also said they're going to behave. We're going to find out if they behave. If they behave good, if they don't behave, we'll take care of it.
In New Jersey, protesters led by Jewish Voice
Hello and a warm welcome from me and the team. It's daybreak here in Europe and on France 24. Our headlines this Saturday. Donald Trump urges Vladimir Zelensky to make a deal with Russia after a meeting at the White House. The Ukrainian president had hoped for long-range U.S. missiles, but Trump is returning his focus to a deal after saying he'll meet again with Vladimir Putin in the coming weeks. Israel receives the remains of another hostage in a late-night handover from Hamas. The group has been under increasing pressure to return more bodies from Gaza. They say they need more heavy machinery, and an international delegation is being mobilized. And Britain's Prince Andrew renounces his title of Duke of York amid further revelations about his ties to sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, a decision believed to have been made under pressure from his older brother, King Charles.
This is Asia Now.
Good afternoon, it's 12 p.m. in Singapore and Hong Kong, 9:30 in New Delhi and 11 o'clock in Jakarta. I'm Inakia Silveraji. At this hour, U.S.-China tensions show signs of a thaw. Beijing says it has agreed to new trade talks with Washington as soon as possible, following discussions between Chinese Vice Premier He Sun and U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. President Donald Trump's meeting with his Ukrainian counterpart Volodymyr Zelensky ends without an agreement on sending Tomahawk missiles. Mr. Trump instead urging Kiev to make a deal to end the war with Russia. And 64 South Koreans arrive home after being detained in Cambodia for alleged involvement in scam operations. All now in custody and under investigation. Today, former Nationals leader Barnaby Joyce announces he will not recontest his New England seat at the next election. Prince Andrew gives up his Duke of York title over a series of scandals, including his links to sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. US President Donald Trump reluctant to give long-range missiles to Ukraine over fears it could escalate the war.
Stop right now at the battle line. I told that to President Zelensky. I told it to President Putin.
And the federal government commits $10 million as part of its anti-bullying review. Hello and welcome to ABC News. I'm Melissa McKay. Former Deputy Prime Minister and Nationals leader Barnaby Joyce has announced he will not recontest his seat in New England at the next election. In a statement, he says his relationship with the current Nationals leadership has irreparably broken down. Mr. Joyce says he is considering his next step, which does not rule out running for One Nation in the Senate. Our political reporter Samantha Dick has the details from Parliament House in Canberra.
Barnaby Joyce has been a key figure in Australian politics for many years, serving as Deputy Prime Minister alongside Malcolm Turnbull and Scott Morrison in the previous.
Some interesting things are happening around the world, I'll say that.
Could that include a Ukraine peace deal with your help against this war?
And what about tensions with Venezuela's dictator?
He doesn't want to around with the United States.
Also tonight, anatomy of the Gaza peace plan. Jared Kushner tells 60 Minutes about the turning point for President Trump.
I think he felt like the Israelis were getting a little bit out of control.
The Epstein scandal costs a prince his title, and joyful reunions in the Middle East evoke memories of another war and another homecoming.
I'll never forget the day that he came home.
From CBS News headquarters in New York, this is the CBS Evening News.
Good evening, I'm John Dickerson. Maurice Dubois is on assignment. The war between Russia and Ukraine has dragged on for more than 3.5 years now. Ukraine's president went to the White House today to ask for weapons to keep fighting it. President Trump, emboldened by the peace deal in the Middle East, talked optimistically about finally ending it. Nancy Cordes is at the White House. Nancy?
John, at one point today, President Trump said he might be able to mediate an end to this war within a couple of weeks, but then he urged the countries to end it themselves. He also sent some mixed signals about his intentions when it comes to sending Ukraine the missiles it wants most.
These long-range Tomahawk missiles were topic number one at President Trump's meeting today with Volodymyr Zelensky.
Tomahawks are a big deal.
The Ukrainian president offered a trade of sorts.
Ukrainian-made drones in exchange for the US-made Tomahawks, which are capable of striking up to 1,500 miles into Russian territory. Trump seemed open to it at first.
They make a very good drone.
But then he argued Ukraine might not even need new weapons if he can broker a swift end to the invasion.
I'm the mediator, President. Hopefully we'll be able to get the war over with without thinking about Tomahawks. I think we're fairly close to that.
It's a bold claim. The war has been raging for nearly 4 years. And Russian air attacks are on the rise.
We need ceasefire. Even now, you see in the Middle East, it's very difficult to hold ceasefire everywhere. In every war, it's very difficult. We want this. Putin doesn't want. That's why we need pressure on him.
Trump said he'll apply that pressure when he holds another meeting with Russian Vladimir Putin, this time in Budapest. Trump was asked if he's worried that Putin is only sitting down with him in order to buy time.
Yeah, I am. You know, I've been playing all my life by the best of them. And they came out really well. I think he wants to make a deal.
Despite all that talk of a deal, President Trump posted this message just a short time ago. He said both sides should simply stop the war where they are, claim victory, and let history decide. Zelensky said he's happy to accept a ceasefire along the current lines as long as it's followed by a negotiation over all the
Africa News. The news. Huge crowds filled the state of Raila Odinga National Financial served in the campus of Nairobi Friday. They chanted and held up portraits of Odinga, while some carried twigs, a symbol of peace and unity in Kenyan tradition.
My father was many things to me, to many people, but to my siblings and I, he was simply Dad. Dad embodied resilience, courage, and unwavering commitment to the ideals of freedom and justice. He always stood for what he believed was right. And not cost as well. He was my hero.
One after the other, officials lined up to view Odinga's body. President William Ruto, who was both Odinga's rival and ally, praised his leadership qualities, referring to him as a brother.
Hey, once in our generation, there comes a leader whose impact transcends their moment, whose courage inspires change, and whose vision shapes destiny. My brother, Raila Amolo Odinga, was one such leader.
Kenyans will also have 1 month to
Pouring 10 to prove the job was president, which is in the last. The poll of about 1,200.
Told Prince Andrew that enough is enough.
The Duke of York, if we can still call him that, is going to give up all his royal titles, having come under huge pressure, as you can imagine, from his brother and maybe also Prince William.
Follows a string of scandals concerning his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein,
with an alleged Chinese spy.
And now GB News can reveal in a world exclusive that the woman who brought Prince Harry down started the whole off says there's still more to come regarding his and Sarah Ferguson's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Not 1, 2, 3, nobody knows between
However, the former Prime Minister Liz Truss told GB News she doesn't think any of this is going to damage the royal family.
They're not in crisis, and this is, as I say, this story is on for many years. I think the big moments were actually 5 to 10 years ago, and this is the end. The end of that.
Meanwhile, King Charles and the Pope are to become the first British monarch and pontiff to pray together at a church service since the Reformation in the 16th century.
The police says that the Home Office was told last week of the highly unusual move that would ban Maccabi Tel Aviv fans from Villa Park in Birmingham.
People have died in this war, and we're gonna get it ended.
Well, there's the US president there, Donald Trump, who has blamed the tremendous bad blood between Presidents Zelensky and peace deal.
Say, Bill, baby Bill, but we are the human consequences of Bill, baby Bill.
And people in Wigan continuing their battle against monster warehouses being built in their community.
Scottish towns have joined in with the Raising the Colours movement, and some are raising saltires and Palestine flags.
A very good morning. Fighting talk from Ange Postecoglou as the under-pressure Nottingham Forest manager defended his record with a 5-minute monologue. Yesterday his side take on Chelsea in the lunchtime kickoff. And in boxing, Alexander Usyk
Thank you for watching Amish Shakil 5858. I am Amish Shakil. I hope you will visit again. Have a good life. Bye-bye.